A lot of people have made comparisons between corona and climate change. So today we're going to look at 5 ways how corona is great for the climate. But before that, imagine that you're sitting at the doctor's office for an appointment with your eyes, and after waiting for a long time, they come out and tell you you're going blind. This is exactly what happened to Steve Bate. And after some months of depression, he decided to make the most of it, and he became a Paralympic cyclist. And now he's calling it the best thing that ever happened to him, because he's finally able to enjoy life to the fullest. So with this kind of attitude in mind, let's not forget that corona is suffering and nobody would choose it. But now that it's here, let's see how it can help us. First thing that comes to mind is air pollution. In China, the measures of lockdown have probably saved more lives through air pollution than preventing corona deaths. But of course, cars are going to return to the streets, so it's only a temporary measure. But the best thing it has done us is shown us what great air looks like, and that it's not that complicated. All we have to do is prioritize health over profits. Some say that you shouldn't exploit this coronacrisis for climate activism, but the point is that they're connected. In The Guardian, George Monbiot explains how destroying biodiversity makes it easier for the virus to find its way to humans. In the West, we've long thought ourselves immune from natural disasters, especially in Europe. Ebola happens in Africa, tsunamis in Asia, and hurricanes in the US. This coronacrisis has confronted us with the reality that we are still part of the natural world. In order to prevent a disaster way worse than corona, we have to drastically reduce our emissions in the next 10 years. As Jason Hickel put it in The Correspondent, in only 30 years we have to change the entire system that we've been building for 250 years. What corona does is expose all the dumb flaws in our system, like why do we pay our healthcare workers and teachers so little? Somebody even made the metaphor that in the same way that Italian hospitals have to choose who to treat and who to let die, governments have to choose which companies they put on life support and which ones they have to ignore. Of course, businesses going bankrupt and people losing their jobs is tragic and never something that we should celebrate. But we cannot let things go back to business as usual. Just today, as I'm finishing the video, 170 scientists have proposed a 5-step plan how to use this corona crisis to make the Netherlands more sustainable. A crisis like this is probably the only moment that allows us to stop, pause and see what kind of society that we want to have. Now, more than ever, is the time to look into the future instead of coming up with short-term fixes. What you and me can do is talk about it and imagine a world where luxurious products and travel are subordinate to health, education and relationships. One of those things that the scientists have proposed is a universal basic income, which they are already implementing in Spain. And one of their biggest points is coming up next. Maybe the biggest system error of all is our constant pursuit of economic growth. We cannot reach our climate targets while also going for economic growth. But the key thing to realize is that most of our economic production is going straight to the bin. And I'm not joking, this was the actual package that things came in. And this is not such a radical idea anymore. Jacinda Ardern, Prime Minister of New Zealand and my new favorite hero, has already promised to replace GDP with well-being. And Scotland and Iceland are following. Wait. This crisis has also exposed some of my own system flaws. At a personal level, we also believe in the myth of productivity. Oh, you know what I'm talking about. That feeling that you always have to be productive. But in the same way that this economic crisis is a way for system change, it forces us on a personal level to reflect how we are constantly in a race to perform. So I know this is hard, but keeping alive and healthy is enough productivity already. No other pressure is needed. We've heard a lot about if only we could act the same way on climate change as we are acting on corona. And then of course people will be quick to explain that the difference is that one is a fast and concrete form of death, and the other one is a slow and gradual degradation of the planet. But there's another difference between the two. One that is in the favor of climate change. There's nothing inherently good about social distancing. I can't wait until all this is over. But for climate change it's different. At the end of the tunnel there's a more purposeful life. While corona action is mainly about avoiding disaster, climate action is also about building a better life for everyone on planet Earth. Look, this crisis is terrible, but I'm afraid it's the only thing that forces us to make the changes necessary on every level, from government and business to our personal lives. And who knows, maybe in a few years' time, we will be able to say that coronacrisis is the best thing that ever happened to us. So what can we do in these times of quarantine to promote climate action? I would say take the time to cook a good meal and just slow down, and if cooking a good meal is all you've done in a day, be proud and relax. Worrying about food is what everyone else, except for us humans, does on this planet for a living. Wow, this basil smells amazing. It was almost dead, but giving it some water is pretty nice. And if you're looking for some more recipes, you should go to the website and sign up for the newsletter. Oh, and if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and share it with some people. That helps me to have enough motivation to keep making these, because anything these days is difficult.